friends, today we're tackling another controversial topic all about gluten. What it is, where it's found, and who actually needs to avoid it. Now, I actually feel pretty bad for gluten. It's gotten such a bad rep. And I understand, some people report that when they remove gluten from their diet, they feel miraculously lighter and more energetic, less brain fog, clearer skin, no achy joints. But have you ever thought that perhaps these changes could be due to the fact that they replaced refined carbohydrates with whole foods? Just a thought. Did you know that gluten is just an umbrella term that refers to a family of proteins? These two proteins include glutenin and gliadin. It is these two proteins that give bread its delightfully chewy texture and full body.
Gluten can be found in barley, rye, oats, and wheat. An easy way to remember this is through their acronym BROW, B-R-O-W. Now, oats technically are naturally gluten-free, but due to processing, it can be cross-contaminated with wheat. Now, the big question is, who really needs to avoid gluten? The first group are people with celiac disease. Celiac disease is an autoimmune condition where the villi in the small intestine gets damaged and inflamed when gluten is consumed. The villi in the small intestine have the superpowers to help us digest and assimilate nutrients. This is why it's imperative if you have celiac disease to avoid gluten at all costs. The second group are those with a wheat allergy. And for the record, there's no such thing as a gluten allergy. A wheat allergy is when a person produces antibodies against the proteins found in wheat. It is an immune-mediated response, just like any other allergy, such as pollen, eggs, shellfish, as well as dust mites. Symptoms include itchy eyes, runny nose, wheezing, and worse yet, anaphylaxis, which is where you have difficulty breathing. And it ain't fun and it comes on fast. The third group are those with gluten sensitivity. This is when, upon digesting foods that contain gluten, they might get digestive symptoms, but they have ruled out celiac disease and wheat allergy.
Lastly are those with a wheat or gluten intolerance.
A food intolerance is when a person lacks a specific enzyme to digest a molecule in a food, and this undigested molecule ends up landing in the large intestine and causing a lot of irritation. So take lactose intolerance. When a person has lactose intolerance, they lack the enzyme lactase. Lactase is responsible for breaking apart glucose and galactose, and if you don't have the enzyme, then this bond ends up being inseparable. So this lactose molecule ends up landing into the large intestine, causing bloat, excessive gas, and worse yet, explosive diarrhea, which are all the same symptoms for those who may have wheat intolerance.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why have so many people started self-diagnosing themselves with either wheat or gluten intolerance in the last few years? Here are two reasons that may suggest why. Reason number one is that modern day wheat has been bred to have higher levels of gliadin. Gliadin is one of the gluten proteins. So if you already have difficulty digesting gluten in the first place, things are now going to get a little bit more problematic. In addition, some bakers do add in extra wheat gluten to their recipe because it does increase protein content and gives the bread an extra oomph. Reason number two is that the fermentation process found in most modern day bakeries is a lot shorter than normal. Fermentation makes it easier for our bodies to digest gluten. To test this out, you can try purchasing a sprouted grain product. Now, if you do plan to go 100% gluten-free, here's my number one pro tip. When planning out your meals, always make sure you balance it with a good serving of lean protein, a small dose of healthy fat, as well as a hefty portion of vegetables, and last but not least, some naturally gluten-free starches such as sweet potatoes, yams, cassava, rice, millet, and buckwheat. Bottom line, there's little evidence that avoidance of gluten is beneficial for those who are not diagnosed with celiac disease, a wheat allergy, gluten sensitivity, or gluten or wheat intolerance. Foods containing gluten, such as barley, rye, oats, and wheat, can be a great source of micronutrients, including B vitamins, iron, magnesium, and selenium. Now, I hope you found this video helpful, and until next time, relish every bite.